Go.
Guys, welcome back to another episode of Media Discuss. With this week we've got Don, Pope, and Jed back. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Welcome back in. Survival Tips to the Apocalypse. I apologise for the title of that. I was kind of a bit stressed after last episode. So I thought I'm going to just throw that one out there. Make some artwork, and here we are. So yeah, thanks again for joining this Monday night.
Well, I like it because we look like four guys that all have a zombie apocalypse plan, but could probably never live up to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is a survivor? I mean, I've got the books, but I've kind of not read all of them, and I think I'd get stuck on certain things like eating berries, and I'd be dead. I'd be dead in about less than 24 hours. I think that's I've been eating deadly nightshade in my back garden trying to get back in. You know? So
mine is I got a younger brother, so I'm just going to be like a vegan and send him out.
Welcome back to another episode.
Sorry, everyone. Sorry.
Really showing it. Yeah, there's some news since we last spoke. There's been some news and some further news today, actually, that the Kim Jong-un and is not dead, or is he dead? He's released a letter to say that he's not dead. But if you hadn't died and everyone wants to know if you're alive, you don't write them a letter. You say to them, like, guys, I'm here. Somehow a letter's been written that we're going to accept. But I don't know. His dad died of a heart attack, and he kept running the family, went in for an operation, and it didn't work out. And now they're worrying about who's going to take over the other side of the world.
It's hard to sort of take on face value the information that's coming out of a country like North Korea, where they say part of the myth surrounding the Kims is that they were born in like an egg underneath a rainbow. That's part of the actual official biography of the Kim family, is that they were like born inside an egg that was at the end of a rainbow. So yeah, I'm going to take what they say, their official statement, with a pinch of salt, to be honest.
I think was it Kim Jong-il, Kim Jong-un. So if he dies, the next Kim is going to take over, which is Kim Kardashian. So, yeah,
wow.
Kim.
I think they're saying about it'll be his sister, but I'll be more terrified of it going to like all the generals come together and there's like an 8 spearheaded generals elite, and they just turn into every bad guy for every computer game you've ever played against. They're just like these elite generals, like yeah.
I mean, the coup is always worse than the despot, isn't it? I mean, it's like when you vanquish a tyrant, the vacuum that's left by the tyrant being eradicated is usually filled by something a lot more nefarious or more unstable and unpredictable. I mean, at least with the despot and with someone like Saddam Hussein, or any kind of leader like that, is they're awful, but you know what you're getting with them. Yeah.
I remember when the new leader took over from his dad, and I felt like he kind of looks all right, doesn't he? Like he looks like just a sweet little boy or like a young man. Like he won't have his big thumb over a button 24/7, will he? But
this looks like a little cheeky bugger. He looks like he loves basketball. His biggest hero is Dennis Rodman. You would imagine him to be a good, easygoing guy, but
yeah.
Anyone whose hero is Dennis Rodman does not have mental stability to run a I'm just saying that.
But I think that he really liked Western cultures. It kind of makes me think that in North Korea somewhere, it's got like a little Western world, like a little Westernized like McDonald's and his own kind of KFC, and lives out his world in this Western world, because he's quite
got a Lidl and a home base. Yeah.
I wonder what the random goods are there at Lidl.
Comes down the middle aisle.
So what? So our survivalist. I don't know. I think I would. I like to think. I like to think I'd be a good survivalist, or that I'd be. I would function well under duress. But then I sort of say this to my dad, like I was talking to him and said I'd be an amazing Marine. And he said, like, Marines famously operate very well under duress. And son, the other day you kicked a chair because there wasn't any lemons in the house. So, I don't know if I would. I'd like to think that I'm the kind of man who would function well as a survivalist, but in reality, I definitely would. I mean, I have to get to sleep with lavender oil on my pillow. I don't think that's going to put me in good stead when I'm out in the wilderness.
I got tested to the max with that kind of scenario in 2017. I went over to Thailand on my own, just did a bit of backpacking and find myself. And it turned out that I was just a massive prick. But the holidays, I went to Thailand and I was like backpacking on these little islands. And I was just thought, I'm going to get a moped, I'm going to ride on the island, and I'm going to backpack into the like rainforest bit. It wasn't really a rainforest. It wasn't really going to hurt me. But I ended up getting lost, right? Because I ended up walking for about 2 hours and I got lost. And I didn't realize that in Thailand the sun comes down around like 6 o'clock, so the sun just went goodbye. It was a pitch black. And I was like thinking, I can't go back. I can't find my bike. I don't know where I am. It's really hot. I can hear like iguanas in the trees. And I'm walking back. I got to sit down. I'm thinking, well, I've got to sit down because I'm going to lose like heat and stuff. And I had my phone light, and I found like near me was this like plastic sealed, sun bleached, Capri Sun like foil drink. And I kind of bit that and drunk out of that, and then like made my way back. And I was like, you did really shit. Like, you could have died. But like, yeah, so yeah.
At the moment, Chris, there's probably some Thai guy lost in Hastings. Shit, what am I gonna do here?
I was like genuinely scared. I was thinking, okay, you're gonna probably die and get eaten by iguanas, but you've got to get back to your bike. And generally, I was like, after that, I was thinking, what would you have done? What would you have eaten? What would you have? And the anxiety kicked in. That it could have gone bad if I didn't kind of find a sun-bleached tourist's Capri Sun, which means it must have been like quite a through area of people. I just couldn't see anyone. But yeah.
I don't think I've ever been in moments of jeopardy like that. I mean, I have, but in very like minor ways. Like I accidentally swam out too far in like Tenerife, and then got found again 2 minutes later. Yeah, there's not like anything. I've never been imperiled in an exotic land. It's always been like imperiled in like Lidl or home base, like we mentioned before. I can't think of a specific situation where I've put myself at risk with like drink and drug abuse many times over. I was saying like the other day, we used to pour powder, like at a party, we used to pour powder into bowls. Didn't know what powder it was. It was just all our drugs put together and then just snort indiscriminately from the bowl. And it was so like, but you don't know what you're getting. You don't know whether you're getting speed. You don't know whether you're getting methadone. You don't know whether you're getting crushed up like baby laxative. You don't know what it is. And I've said that was the nearest sort of facsimile of what it's like to have dementia. That was the closest I reckon I've come to of experiencing what dementia may potentially be like. Yeah, and you always need like a good grounded, stable person to reorient you. But I'd always be stuck with some twiggy, emaciated guy whose name I didn't know, who'd done more powder than I had. So it'd always be the blind leading the blind.
Imagine how he felt. He was stuck with you. He was like, oh, God.
Yeah. Me getting glassed every 6 foot.
I reckon in the apocalyptic world, you'll do just fine because you'd be like the bank, like all the kind of substances and stuff. And like they were saying that in the apocalyptic world, the things that would be like currency would be silver and alcohol, and like little bottles of the twist cap ones, and you'll be able to exchange them for things. They reckon that silver, because gold's obviously too expensive to have tiny amounts of it, you get silver little kind of, and it goes back to weighing silver again. I thought so. Even in like after the apocalyptic time, there's still going to be that kind of bartering system. But what would have value now, and what would we kind of, is it going to be things like batteries or cans of food, or
Yeah, I think you'd definitely be. I think alcohol with 100. You're on the money with alcohol and cigarettes, and sort of like what you get in prison, in like the prison bartering system. It'd be very similar to that. But like silver, would you really have any? I don't think there'd be any what we know as sort of monetary exchange. I don't think there'd be any need for silver really. I think it'd be more practical stuff like I don't know, like cotton or rope or you know, batteries maybe.
Perishables will be the main.
If you've got
Yeah.
if you've got, say, silver dollar, old-fashioned silver dollars, or little bits of silver bar, you could potentially barter for like more land for your settlements. And I don't know. I think silver might potentially play a significant role.
Maybe as society started to regain its social standing. Early on, it's the free for all. You can keep your silver. I want a tin of beans.
It'll be like
exactly that. You're reverting back to a kind of pre-lapsarian time where you're having to barter with anything that will mean you survive another day. Whereas when you're moving towards bringing civilization back, then maybe money and stuff and silver will come back into it. But I remember in the film Cube. Did you ever watch the film Cube? It's like a really good 1980s film where you never find out why. For the whole film, they just wake up, they're stuck in a cube. You never find out why, and everything looks exactly the same. And I remember for nutrition, they used to suck on buttons so they could drink back their saliva to stop themselves from getting dehydrated. So maybe buttons would be a big bartering system. Like it would be like I remember when I went to Amish countries. In Amish country, they're not allowed to have buttons. It's against their religion. And I always imagined that, when you get that little baggie of buttons on your trousers when you first buy them, that would be like, because it's an illicit thing, and it's like that would be like a baggie of cocaine, but it's like a little baggie of buttons. This little, like really like giving the ladies a little peek of button.
Hey, Jedediah, would you like to keep your trousers up?
Yeah.
Powdered button.
Yeah.
Even things like condoms for storing water for traveling and
for balloon fights.
They never burst. You used to get them from your dad's drawer, and you'd get them on the tap, and you'd throw a condom at your mate, and it would just bend around his head and fall off.
Actually,
at least his head would stop his head from getting pregnant. So it's a very safe precaution there.
After this, I'm going to watch a program which I've been watching, but this is celebrity version. SAS Who Dares Wins. So you obviously need some kind of military type training to survive.
Great. Yeah.
I can't.
Go on, Jed.
I don't think I'm going to do well in the apocalypse. I can't survive a music festival. I went to a music festival and left a day early because I just wanted creature comforts. I was like, I want to sleep in a bed and a shower. That is all.
Go to the Wireless, best one, London. Sorry about this. With the celebrity SAS there wins. The strongest guy was Tony Bellew, who's a boxer, and in that type of environment, you have to survive, but you can't lash out. And when people are punching him, he just started lashing out, and so it's not always necessarily physically strongest. It's more mental as well.
I think you need a bit of I think you need traits, especially if you're going to be a tribe. You have to have different traits within the tribe that will help the collective. That's that utilitarian thing of like, maybe this person is good for strength, this person's good for logic, this person's good. So you're not going to be someone who contains all those different variables that would contribute to the sustainability of the tribe. But I mean, I don't think I'd like to say because I'm a comedian I'd be good for morale, but I don't even think I'd be good for that.
The only trait I have is autistic, so I'm fucked.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're a logical brain. You're a logical thinker, mate. We need the autistic lateral thinking. You'd be perfect. I'm banging on about sucking on buttons. I've got no worth and no function.
Only time I could survive in history is during Greek mythology, because if there's Medusa there, I can't make the eye contact. So I can so other than that, I'm fucked. So.
The thing is, though, Dom, people that get caught behind enemy lines usually get caught kind of peeking around corners. So, like, you're not going to be looking at anyone. So you do pretty damn well as an undercover.
I just bump into stuff. Shit.
I reckon you could use that to your advantage and then keep yourself like safe from that.
I don't think I'm wired for it. They'd be like, guys, it's time to go out hunter and gathering, and I'd be like, can I not just have an anxiety day? Can I not have a mental health day? Mental health days in the apocalypse.
But I've watched the SAS, the kind of not the celebrity one, but the old one, and I generally feel like I would break with the first sickener. They do think with the sickener where no one can stop unless one person quits. And I remember one season, no one would quit for ages, and they were just like, you keep going until what, and it breaks it. I watched it. I thought I can't even watch it. It breaks me just watching.
Sorry,
See, I like to commit into sort of feats of endurance. So that's why I'll do walking, I'll have a sort of I'll have a manic episode, and after doing a 14-hour shift, I walked the 6 hours home through the night back to my thing. I like doing stuff like that to see how far I can push myself and to what limits. So that would probably put me in good stead. My ability. Yeah, I think that kind of thing. I would like to. I like to kind of prove to prove my mettle, to prove what I'm made of. Yeah. So yeah, I reckon that mindset, like where they say athletes say lean into the pain. I like doing that. I like when I'm feeling any kind of pain to really kind of lean into it. Even on like it transfers to like stand-up gigs. When I have a gig where I'm bombing, it doesn't faze me. I get like a kind of like masochistic relish from it. I like to see how I can completely like turn this gig into complete scorched earth. Because just to sort of see what I can.
That is the kind of the ultimate overcome. The ultimate thing to overcome is to be able to like you say, to stand there and kind of absolutely, smash that. I mean, take it apart. But I mean, everyone's sitting there going, I'd have a panic attack on stage. I would. You've got to go through it to come out the other side of that. So that new experience, that kind of new truth, and kind of, it's.
Yeah, see, that's why I don't get fat. Like I mostly do well with gigs, but like any comedian, we all have gigs where we bomb terribly. But that's the thing is, like, I don't want it to just be lukewarm. Like when I was young, if I used to spill a little bit of soup down myself, I thought that seemed a bit dainty. So I'd pour the whole bowl down me. And that's what I do at a gig. If it's going badly, I pour the whole fucking bowl down me.
I do find with gigging, I'm okay if the gig goes bad because I can work that out. I can work out what went wrong. And I love it, obviously, when a gig goes really well. But doing just okay at a gig is so much worse.
Isn't it? That's what I mean. That's why I can't. Go on, mate.
I tell you, Pope, I don't think you could survive the apocalypse because if you're going to share food, you pour soup down you, people are going to kill you.
Wasting vital resources. I think Don, I think you're the one who would have to kind of lead us through this apocalyptic scenario. I think you'd be quite good in it.
I think, do you know who will do the best in an apocalyptic scenario? Like was watching SAS Who Dares Wins. It's someone who can blend into the background. I saw a documentary with Rory Bremner, and like me, he's got ADHD. If you've got ADHD and you're quite impulsive, like a hunter-gatherer type used to, you're going to go there and you're going to more likely to get yourself killed or stuff. Someone who can blend into the background, watch what's going on, who can keep a cool mind, will more likely to survive.
Well, in that case, I might survive because my life has prepared me for like low-paid, minimum wage jobs, and all the amount of bosses I've had that was like, Jed, you've been here 8 hours and you've done nothing. It's like you haven't been here at all. I've just blended into the background, so I'm going to survive. I'm going to be great.
It's like spycraft, isn't it? Like with spycraft, you always have to be the most unassuming, blend into the background type person, and that would probably work in your favor in that scenario. But
unless you're on your own, then. But if it's a large group,
but I don't know. So with the survivalist stuff, I know it. So the book I've been reading, is called Bring the War Home. But it's the White Power movement and paramilitary America. It's like a fascinating book, but it does seem to be that with these survivalist groups, it always overlaps with a kind of white supremacy, ostracizing the other. Hitting back against people they deem to be unpatriotic. Yeah, Don would be fucked. It's that kind of thing. And I always wonder why. What is it about? I suppose it's the nativist thing, because if you're a survivalist, you're surviving against you're surviving against something that's opposing you, and in most normal times we're fairly okay. There's not really much tumult, not like a world war or anything, for us to be.
I imagine it's very much same as prison tactics.
Yeah,
like you go into prison and you find your tribe and you survive with them.
Yeah.
It's kind of in us to kind of to form like that so that we can have that security and that. But it's not. Is it done out of a kind of inner level? Is it done out of visual? Is it done over something that it's that's something to look at, isn't it?
Yeah. It just I suppose, but because they say like when you're going through a crisis together, the usual prejudices and stuff like that fall by the wayside because we as a collective all have to get through this together, and everything else seems insignificant, seems almost trivial, and that's why hopefully at the end of this current crisis we're going through, it will create a sort of social cohesion and the sort of petty grievances that came to the fore after the Brexit debacle, they'll fall by the wayside. Hopefully. I mean, I don't know. But then also, go on, mate. Sorry.
There was a study done that said that 15% of people thought the world would end in their lifetime, which is kind of I don't know. Yeah, is it a low number or is it? 15% of people think the world. I don't know who you ask actually. If you ask someone who's 85, they'd probably say, you know what I mean? But the anxiety is still there, where people think that when you're genuinely asked if you think the world will end, there's a global anxiety.
I imagine it would be an age sort of curve as well. Because I imagine younger people are arrogant enough to say yes.
Yeah,
because they see the world's going. But the older you get, the more you live through shit. So, like someone who lived through World War II isn't going to have the same opinion as someone born in the 80s type thing. Because they're like, well, no, we survived getting bombed. Whereas, what we've survived is financial collapse.
Yeah.
But I think it's a lot harder for us to survive because apart from World War II, you look at the post-World War II consensus, they had free housing or next to nothing, affordable housing. They had one job that could support the whole family. It's much harder now to survive now. That's why we live with our parents.
Well, yeah, stuff's become more fragmented and more compartmentalized, and there's not there's not a sense of community like there used to be, especially post-war. And also, I think the sort of rise of social media and stuff like that has helped to nurture individualism, and with individualism comes narcissism, so that we always think that we are the center of gravity in our own story, that we are always the focal point. And whereas we look at ourselves in comparison to a broad historic span, like why us? Why would it be this moment in time that the world ends? But because we're all craven narcissists, we all think, yes, this is the most pivotal moment in history. This is the moment that everything falls off its axis. Yeah.
The doomsday clock, and it's kind of a clock that ticks towards midnight and it gets to midnight.
Oh yeah.
So it's currently, I looked up before I came on air about when it actually is, and it says that it's 100 seconds to midnight, which is it's going in increments of, it was kind of 1:45 in the 80s, and it's kind of going to like 2 minutes to, and now but when it gets to midnight and nothing happens, are we basically like the Mayans? When like the Mayans got to the end of 2012 and they thought that was their cycle and nothing happened, and they obviously got on that. In future thousands of years, they'll go, do you remember when they had that clock that went to midnight?
It's also the thing of, if the world does end, how are they going to put it to midnight? The world's ended. Like, how they? It's done. It's done, mate. It's finished. It's over. How can we put it to midnight? And no one will be there. Like, if a tree falls in the woods and no one there is there to hear it, it has it really happened? And it's like the thing of the clock. Like, when the world's end, like, if no one's there to witness it go to midnight, is it? But I don't know. Maybe. Do they preempt it? Do they put it to midnight when they preempt it's going to end? I don't really.
I hope it's like New Year. I hope Jules Owen's on. He's got Hootenanny on.
Yeah.
Me and all my friends are gathered in the living room. We're counting down.
Oh, 10, it's so dramatic.
9, 8,
I put on like Michael Jackson, the big long trench coat, stand outside me, and when the bomb wave hits me, it's like I fade away. That'd be a rush.
I think I'd want to be the guy who, do you know when Vesuvius went up in Pompeii and they found the guy in the molten masturbating? I think I'd want to be that guy. I'm like, I want him to find me and be talking about this for a long time.
Yeah, I would. I don't. If the world was going to end, I mean, realistically, we would all kind of want to be in the a shared embrace with our loved ones, not a sexual embrace. Like I'm not into that. Like a comforting embrace with our loved ones. But if I had to, I suppose I'd like to be wanking it out. I'd like to wank myself. Yeah.
I'd like to think that I wouldn't be like injecting myself with disinfectant, like what's happened this week with. And there's been some controversy towards that about whether he said what he said, and then he come back and said, but basically, the head of the free world cannot even in any way suggest that you should get involved with disinfectant periods. It's part of public speaking, like it's part of like engaging with people, is that you just don't discuss that in that way. Even if it was
exactly.
Isn't it mental we're even having that conversation though? It's like the fact that people are being nitpicky about what the what was it an explicit or implicit or like all this kind of shit. Like why is the president of the richest country in the world talking about bloody necking back disinfectant? Like it's madness that he'd even ruminate on that. I mean, Trump is a kind of it's unfettered id. There's no filter between his head and his mouth. But
I think there's a reason why that is. Sorry, Pope, you're gone.
No, carry on, mate.
I was going to say, a lot of what Trump is saying, if you believe in the right-wing QAnon conspiracy, a lot of it is code word and language. So when he spells something wrong, he's meaning something else on Twitter to the people who believe the QAnon conspiracy, which is about trying to stop an elite paedophile ring. And that's why we got a war in Mexico. So a lot of his ramblings are code words.
But no, you need a more so there's there's the idea of the dog whistle in that a lot of politicians use this where Nixon would talk about like the Southern strategy, and the Southern strategy was to oppress black voting and this kind of stuff. So there will be ways to apply window dressing to what is really racism or whatever. Exactly. But with Trump, like there's the Occam's razor thing of like the Trumpian razor. Whatever the most simple explanation for his fucking madness, that is what it is. Like it's just the fact that he was banging on, that doesn't have any filter, was trying to talk until his brain caught up with his mouth, and that's why he took in this little bit of information about disinfectant, and that just kind of rose to the surface of his psyche. So with Trump, I don't think he's a grand strategist. I don't think he's intelligent enough for that. I really, really don't. I believe he just.
It reminds me of when I remember being in school in year 7, and I had to do this piece on Aztecs, and I kind of really wasn't interested in kind of researching it. And we didn't have a computer back then, and I was kind of had to get some books from the library. 2 weeks go by, I had to go up in front of the class and discuss my project Aztecs, and I went up there having just no idea what I was talking about, who even the Aztecs were. And it was so embarrassing for me to be in front of 30 people. I went, well, the Aztecs are like a South American. I was crying. I thought that's kind of what it looks like he's doing. They just threw him on stage and gone, oh.
That is what Trump. That is exactly Trump is you blagging the Aztecs. That is what that is. Trump. This guy, the Aztecs are they're a bunch of guys. They're a good, in my opinion, the greatest bunch of guys. I mean, we can all come to the conclusion that we love guys. They're guys. They're Aztecs. They're cool. And it's that kind of shit. That's what it is.
Chris, did you get heckled saying, no, mate, that's the Incas you're talking about?
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
I always think, yes, the Aztecs and the Incas, the Aztecs, were the Aztecs Mexican? Were they Mexican? Where the Mexico is now? Who were the Aztecs?
Yeah, I guess he has.
Well,
Chris.
Chris, he don't know.
Stand up.
Chris, it's time to redeem yourself.
Yeah,
Next week we want hashtag
this is your moment, Chris. It's
Next
been,
week.
we've been leading up to this.
Listen, the Aztecs are a South American tribe that inhabited between about 3,000 to 7,000 BC. They were indigenous to the area.
You had me there. You had me. You had me. Like Rasheen Connerty said a really good quote today in an article when she was talking about stand-up comedy, and she says it's about the sizzle. It's about the sizzle, not the sausage, or something like that. It's about the being able to sell it with enough confidence and enough of an outwardly enticing facade. So the actual content of what you're saying is bollocks. No one really listening.
True.
Yeah.
You see the best comics you made Bush? Yeah, go on, Jed. Sorry.
Do you know when George Bush was president and they sort of left and they kept making highlights videos of him like messing up speeches, like "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, can't get fooled again."
Yeah.
I think like what they're gonna do is they're just gonna be like, how were we meant to edit Donald Trump like this? Like, do we just play his full interviews? Is this what it's going to be?
Because that is every Trump pronouncement. Like, it's all garbled nonsense. It's all what do they call it? Matt. Oh, I can't remember. There's a certain term when people accidentally they say a saying and then they fuck it up. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, it's called something. Yeah, like that. Yeah.
No, I know. Yeah, you kind of get stuck and then you don't know what you're.
Malapropism. That's it. Malapropism. It's like a malapropism, and this when they do it a lot in the Sopranos, which is why the script is so perfect, because they speak as uneducated that gangsters would speak. They fuck up aphorisms and stuff.
Well, to kind of highlight their kind of literacy for that era of being like Italian New York, what in the Sopranos, because people weren't always educated and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like when they say like Sun Tzu instead of Sun Tzu, and other people would be worried about putting that in a script because they'd be worried that the audience would think that they've made a mistake as a scriptwriter. But Sopranos had faith, in their audience, that they would know that this is just the very, very natural speech for these kind of gangsters.
Did the scriptwriter fuck up and then backtracked?
Who's writing Trump's scripts? Because I think at the beginning they were trying to write him things, but it's like now he's gone, I got this guy. Can I please be your auto cue? And he's like, no, because whatever's writing for him, they've got to write it to his level of reading, haven't they? They've got to they can't write things that he's just going to go, what does that say? What does that say? So they've actually sitting there going, oh, okay, we'll talk about this. But then he doesn't follow the script. And then he brought
guys, I was just putting the power on. Sorry.
No worries.
And then they rolled in the TV like you're in school, and the report was like, oh, a TV's coming in. Like he just played himself for like 20 minutes and was looking at this and going, The reports were like, did you just do like a demonstration of your clips of yourself? And he was like, yeah, done a good job. This is like, what's going on?
I understand a bit. Like I have that internal thing where it's like spinning plates. So like it's like when I'm talking and I'm making my point clear and I'm being articulate, it's fine. The plate is spinning. But then I can feel that I'm starting to lose myself, and the plate is starting to waver like that. And watching Trump, that is the sensation I get when watching him. But then when I did this, so we've been the care home tour that I do with another wonderful comedian called Ben Target. When Ben Target speaks, he really takes his time with what he's saying. He's almost got a Zen-like mind when he talks. And the documentary makers said with me, I just rabbit until I find my fault, and then I'll say something that actually makes sense and is coherent and pertinent what they're talking about. But they said with me, they always knew they could right off the bat when they're editing it, cut off the first 5 minutes because that was garbled bollocks. Whereas with Ben, he would take that half an hour to get to articulate his first thought, but it was always like a really polished, wonderful gem.
He's a sniper and you're a machine gunner.
Exactly that. Yes. Yeah. I like big punches when it comes. I like big fucking punches when it comes. Big verbal punches, and he likes to throw the dart or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, do you reckon big verbal punches would help us survive at the end of the world, or real punches? I think real punches would probably put us in good stead because
I've not been in a physical fight since I was like 17.
Get in one, mate.
You've got to learn a martial art. I do jiu-jitsu, been doing that for 3 years.
Yeah.
You'd have to learn some sort of grappling, because at some point you're going to come up against someone else and you're going to have like a stick fight, a stone fight, or a fist fight. But yeah, big punches. I think.
Do you know the best example of that is? It was during the World Cup in Russia. The Russians had a little bit of training, the hooligans, so they just battered our hooligans. So.
Yeah. What were the Russian hooligans called? They were called were they the Ultras? Were they the Russian Ultras? Yeah, they were
the Putins.
Yeah. So with jiu-jitsu, is that one where you like use their body weight against them? Is that jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, no, it's kind of like so Brazilian jiu-jitsu is like judo, but the submissions and grappling included. So it throws, submissions, pin, grappling, so like chokes and leg locks, and so it's all kind of submission based and no striking, but is the most effective martial art in the world, because it kind of it's a self-defense tool, but by being defensive is it in self the aggressor. It's like one of the only kind of styles of martial art where by being defensive you're actually winning the fight, which is and some of the toughest guys I know are the nicest guys that I know are doing jiu-jitsu. Like if I saw someone in the street and I was like if he was in the middle of this apocalyptic world and I come up against someone, I would generally have no idea if that person would kick my ass or not. But by doing it, I limit those chances. Like when I was in Finland, I was over there and there were some guys over there that are just massive Finnish guys. And I thought, there is no way I'll be able to do anything to you. I kind of felt all I kind of like childish, like I was a little boy again. And these big Finnish guys were just like, there was nothing you could do to me. Like I was just like...
I think I've got that thing of like when I see guys like that, like I know for a fact that they would do me, like easily they would do me. I don't stand a chance. But in my mind, I always think like the worst that could happen is just death. So like I don't so it doesn't. That I find that quite relaxing.
You lack imagination, then, Perp. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah. I just always think that was the worst that could happen is just death, and I believe in a life after death. So torture. I suppose torture. That I wouldn't want to go through that.
Yeah.
You see,
Yeah, go on, mate. Sorry.
Like I believe in a mob mentality anyway. So like I remember reading something like, it doesn't matter how well trained the fighter is. 3 to 4 people could take down the best fighter in the world.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I don't disagree with that at all, for sure. Like, because it's if you're going if I went up against 4 people, I'd just strangle myself. I wouldn't put myself through the being like in the wilderness. When I went to America, I took bear spray with me, even though I went to New York, but I didn't risk it because I'm petrified of being eaten by bears. Like I've seen videos of people being eaten by bears that people have sent me, and it's just like, because they know that it's a real fear of mine is having that no control and having a bear, and they can climb trees and they can run 30 miles an hour and they can swim. You can't hide from a bear, and it made me take away to New York.
Yeah.
That's you looking up gun violence and bear violence in New York.
If Don died in the fight, you just get reincarnated and you come back and say like, and then you kick that thing's ass and just continue like, you know.
What I'll do is if I died in a fight, I'll come back as a bear and just come to your house.
Do you reckon you'd be autistic in any incarnation, Don? Do you reckon if you came back as a polar bear, it'd be an autistic polar bear?
I'll come back with OCD, then I'll get dyspraxia again. It just comes out with everything.
I've got a mate called. I actually think he's Russian. I've got a mate called Tom Jenkins. He's dyspraxic, He's one of my close friends. I've also got someone else watching called Mark, who we used to call Meatball in school because he was a fat meatball. And I once stabbed him with a fork, and the fork actually penetrated the skin. Like you felt the flesh pop, and then the fork going to him. Also, we call Mark. People call him Father of the Year because he apparently doesn't love his kid. But there we go.
Which is good.
I'm joking. I'm joking, Mark. You love your kid. I know you do.
That was such a niche one. I think you'd be a cannibal. I think if things went too far, I think if we go back to 1920s Germany and collapse, there's a good chance that you would be a cannibal. You just demonstrated to stab someone.
Yeah. I've been reading books about cannibalism. It's weird you mentioned that. I've actually been reading books about it because I'm doing I was writing a bit of stand up about it, and I was trying to just get a little bit of research. But they've so the Rockefeller clip. Do you want to play the Rockefeller clip now, Chris?
Yeah, let's play that. Let's get that in. So this is this guy died actually. He was talking about get it there, and then pause it, Kane, if you can. So this is an interview.
Brilliant interview.
Yeah, I guess the interview tells itself really. But this guy died 2007, I believe, and wasn't too long after this interview. I know he died of cancer. But so anyway, this is a conversation between him and Alex Jones. So yeah, if you play this, then just
Nick Rockefeller.
Yeah, it talks about the goal of control and world domination.
Is the goal to create a one world government run by the banking industry, run by the bankers, and they're doing it in sections. The European currency, the euro, and the European Constitution is one part of it. Now they're trying to do it in America with the North American Union, right? And they want to create a new currency called the Amero, right? And the whole agenda is to create a one world government.
When I first saw this product, I thought it looked kind of crazy. Didn't really understand what the benefits would be.
Where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips, right? There'll be no more cash. And this is getting me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. And all money will be in your chips. And so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to. If they say you owe us this much money in taxes, they just deduct it out of your chip digitally.
Total control.
Total control. And if you're like me or you, and you're protesting what they're doing, they can just turn off your chip. And you have nothing. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. It's total control of the people.
And that chip's connected to a database that has your purchasing records, what you do, what
everything.
you sell.
Everything is in there, And so they want a one world government controlled by them, everybody being chipped, all your money in those chips, and they control the chips and they control people. And you become a slave. You become a serf to these people. That's their goal. That's their intentions.
Eric, can you be specific about when you met Rockefeller, how it happened in these
discussions? So anyway, I
met Rock.
That's the situation we're in with being chipped and the future.
So it's just talking about like a centralized banking, basically, that is all gonna.
So he's talking about a progression. So like, hey Nick's talking about Nick.
Hey guys,
Nick, how's it going?
All right, buddy.
And Nicole as well. Order in.
Hello.
How's the sound, guys? How are you?
Good. How are you?
Not bad, thank you.
Not too bad, thank you.
How's things stateside? What's the lowdown? We were just talking about apocalyptic things and currencies and stuff. How is it? Is the USA intact? How's it going?
It's pretty much the same. Yeah, I mean, as far as survival goes, I think the first step here is definitely just injecting disinfectant.
Yeah.
Step 2 would be shoving a light bulb up your ass and seeing if that works.
Yeah.
Already done it.
I actually quite like the idea of the light bulb, so I think I'll be giving that a whirl a bit later on. But yeah, the disinfectant thing, I was saying, isn't it madness that globally we have this discourse where we actually have to talk about the intricacies of injecting disinfectant, right. And like even the New York Times was like, most experts say it's probably not a good idea, and I was like, why do we even have to stipulate that? Like, it's madness.
Yeah. Well, there's a large amount of phone calls to the State Departments and stuff about people trying it and wanting to know more about it. So,
God,
it's ridiculous that the next morning.
I think one of the reasons why it happens, sorry to butt in, is in America they have a culture of suing people. So if you don't tell them literally or exactly, and then they can sue you. So that's the reason why, I think.
The Americans are pros at prepping. Like if you talk to any Americans about prepping, they are prepped. They've got pantries, they've got garages. They've got jars full of pickle seeds. I'm starting to get a seed bank now. Every time I get paid, I buy a pack of seeds on eBay, so I can go into the woods and plant my radishes and marrows and be all by myself. But Americans start actually prepping, and like it's kind of not over here as much. But stateside, they all got bug out bags. They can all run out the door with their bug out bags.
I had my kids dig a bunker 2 weeks before this happened. So.
See, I'm not agrarian in the slightest. So the only thing I've stocked up on is I've still got 7 Easter eggs left over, and I have to survive on Easter eggs. That's all I've got. That's the only prep I've done. So
apocalypse is type 2 diabetes then.
Yeah. But yeah, we were talking about like this idea of decentralized banking. Like I don't understand economics at all. Like I don't understand the intricacies of economics is not something that I have any knowledge of whatsoever. But like you said, it does seem to be happening. That everything is chip and pin now, and we're relying a lot on technology to kind of take over from paper money. So, but I don't know. I don't know why that would have a negative impact on the world. I mean, I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on that.
What, like a cashless society with no cash at all?
Yeah, if like it was cashless society.
I think it's just like pure full accountability for all funds, stocks and shares and money. And I think with money being gone, it's like it could be a form of control because it has to go somewhere. It has to go on. Bill Gates has a patent, which means that you can have wearable devices like a watch that they can integrate into it, and it will link cryptocurrencies in, so that if you do something well, they will reward you, and you can mine cryptocurrencies, so that if you was to have a vaccination, you'd get credited. If you was to eat good foods and it can test your blood, you'll get credited. So it's kind of like the steps towards control, and having a implant in you or having a device you wear is like off.
I think the mic went a bit funny.
Sorry, it's micro. We'll try and get him back if we can, but
I think the thing is though is that a lot of people who are maybe inclined to believe in conspiracy theory is they have this perception of like what they call a synchronic view of the world, a vertical synchronic view of the world, in that all power is concentrated into one omniscient, omnipresent entity. And they have this idea. It's like so in Kafka, like in Franz Kafka, one of the central tropes of that is this idea of a synchronic view of the world, that all power is concentrated into one omniscient, omnipresent entity. Whereas the power is atomized. I don't believe there's one. Like what we were saying earlier in a previous discussion when we was talking about who's the puppeteer of like Putin. We think Putin is the zenith, is the top of the totem within Russian oligarchy. But actually, who's controlling Putin? I don't think it works like that. I think there's lots of different atomized power structures, and they all they're interspersed and they feed off of each other. I don't believe there's like one.
The banking industry the banking industry, surely, if the banking industry is funding, the Bank of England and another kind of high bank in every single country in the world, by limiting the money and loaning, I think it was the Rothschilds funded like both wars since Napoleon times, funded both countries. So in a way, because of the bankers are funding both sides, you could say that they're kind of controlling politically.
But the banking industry as a term is really, really vague and nebulous because it's like what is the banking industry? And people say the banks, but as we know, a lot of funding and a lot of resources isn't just coming directly from the banks. There's lots of I don't understand.
The banks are just the vessels for which the power filters through. You look at the banks and the money. You look at the banks and the money is just mere kind of objects. It's about what you have and the resources you have and the influence you have by what's above that coming down through the.
But that's what I'm saying is this idea of this hierarchy, this synchronic hierarchy of stuff's flowing downwards. I don't think it's like that. I think there's a lot more. Yeah, go on, mate. Sorry.
I think there is. George Carlin said there was an illusion of choice. So we have 50 flavors of donuts, yeah. But in America, there's only like 3 or 4 companies control most of the media. And if you look at the banking system, our politics, it's all intertwined and interdependent. I mean, some people who go into banking then go into politics and go into media. They're all connected together.
Yeah, I totally agree. You're absolutely right. So that idea of it being a nexus where everything is interdependent, I believe that. I believe in systems, but that's what I'm saying. I believe it is a nexus. It's like a horizontal shared power. I don't believe it's like one thing flowing downwards.
I think it is to a certain extent, as the Occupy movement put it succinctly, the top 1%, and it's even less than that. I mean, they did a study in, I think it's in Switzerland, the amount of people who own all the companies in the world. It's just mind-boggling. It's concentrated in such few hands.
Yeah, you have a point as well. It's like with this idea of like 42% of English land is owned by a small collective, a small coterie of people, and a lot of them are like landed gentry or part of royal lineage. So but then it's like how it's whether you've got like a macro perspective or a micro perspective. So you say 42% of English land is owned by a small coterie of people, right? But then they're people who own, like who's the person above them people? Do you know what I mean? Like I don't believe that there's like one central overlord.
We're just never shown those. I think that they hide in the shadows of what's not there. So.
But I don't think they're even hiding. I think the system is the thing itself. I think this idea of this like interdependent power structures and the nexus, that is the thing itself. There's not one overarching thing. That is the thing itself. That's where the dominance.
I watched a documentary on the right-wing conspiracy theories in America, the Q or the QAnons. And they say the people at the top of the G suits, I can't pronounce the name, so massive secret society, but they control even the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. But how true that is,
it's this thing of like Rothschilds and Rockefellers, like that's like a hangover and a residual thing from where they were people who were extremely wealthy and had a lot of power and influence, but their power and influence has waned. Like they're nothing compared to Jeff Bezos, compared to Bill Gates, compared to
the Rothschilds is the richest family in the world. They're probably the richest, and that's not just me saying it. It's a friend of mine who's a journalist and a comedian who said that as well.
What about the Koch brothers? I thought I don't know. Maybe they are.
It's not just the Rothschild. It's loads of other families as well, including the royal family.
American. These are all. I blame Nick for this because this country was set up in. We give them this bit of land, and then they start producing capitalistic criminals for hundreds of years of oil and of metal, and I kind of blame Nick for that. I've got to throw that.
So apparently, according to this, the Koch brothers, they're actually the third richest in the world, and the Walton family, who own Walmart, they're apparently the richest family in the world. So this idea of the Rothschilds and that, it's for AA as well. It's almost got anti-Semitic connotations.
I can understand that, definitely.
People want want it to be a Jewish conspiracy, and this is what it all leads back to. When people talk about big financial conspiracies, it's always touched with anti-Semitism, and it always leads back to that. This idea of like a nefarious Jewish conspiracy to rule everyone and to control the banking industry, and this is why I'm really, really wary of it. So actually, yeah, the Walton family who own Walmart are apparently the richest, and then like the Saudi royal family are the fourth richest.
They own Walmart, as does yeah. So yeah, same companies as though over here is Walmart.
Biggest retailer in the world.
Yeah. So yeah, the Walton family.
Whenever I talk about the Rothschilds and when I'm going to talk about myself, I often straight away you have to mention not being anti-Semitic. The people who control the world, they're of different religions. You've got Mittal, who's from the same part of India as I am. You've got the Walton families. And you have to say that. And these people at the top, whether it's the Rothschilds, Mittals, and Rockefellers, who are Christians from what I know, they don't care about religion. They don't give a shit about you, you know? So, you know... So,
yeah, their incentive is that accumulating influence and accumulating wealth.
But one thing I would say, Pope, is that a lot of conspiracy theories, unfortunately, are anti-Semitic. I do agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's just the problem. It does always kind of lead back to that. Especially,
unfortunately.
Yeah, especially with like the banking stuff, and it's like the Elders of Zion tropes that are brought into it, and that's why it's
definitely 100%.
Yeah,
we need to get rid of that, but.
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. But I get what the kind of essence of what you're saying. I absolutely support like this idea of there being a load of interdependent networks of power who all feed off of each other. I 100% believe that. But I think that's the thing itself. I don't think there's one
well, people say that Jews control the media, but everyone knows it's Indians. Because ultimately, we get to decide which publications to stock our newsagents.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Hashtag lazy stereotypes.
I think between us four, if we stuck together, we'd do okay. I think I can't hunt for nothing. I'm too loud. Like if I was walking through the woods, I had to hunt. So if this does come into an apocalyptic times and we have to all kind of somehow we're the last four, it should be a damning. It should be But
I think if it was between you and me, Chris, I think I could do better. I'll just come in dressed as a bear, so you'll be scared. Other than that, I'll be useless, absolutely useless.
Maybe this time I'll front my fear and I'll fight you. Yeah. And now you're coming up. Now this little bear better learn some jiu-jitsu pretty quick.
I become as a bear. I become as a bear, but my kid show character. So
and I'm really hungry and angry and cold and wet, and this bear goes, I go, not today.
You can imagine us for an apocalypse. The first thing would say, "Hi guys, does anyone need a podcast?"
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. We can do it.
We don't even take it in turns. One of us would not be on the show and have to watch it, and the other three.
Well, if it is the end of the world, the bag of buttons are on me. So I'll be the button boy. So don't you worry. You'll never dehydrate, my friends, with my bag of buttons.
That is what I requires that I never dehydrate again. So,
yeah.
Oh, guys, this is again. We've flung by an hour of whatever. Yeah, like I said, I thought of this topic. I was hungry and stressed and tired, and I just thought, So appreciate you guys withdrawing that for the last hour.
Thank you. No, it's always a pleasure.
It's a pleasure.
It's a lovely Monday night ritual, and I look forward to it every week. So that shows how empty my life is.
We're all in lockdown, isn't it? So
yeah.
Yeah, it's been a real pleasure, and I'll see you guys real soon.
Yeah, see you later, guys.
Take care, guys. Have a good one.